Hey, welcome back to JG3 Reviews. My name is James, and here I like to explore the world of fountain pens, ink, and paper. And today, it is a pen day. It's this, the Majohn P141. And this is a pen that I thought Majohn would probably knock it out of the park. But I don't think they did. In fact, there are a couple of things about this pen that just kind of drive me nuts. So in this video, instead of our typical review, I'm going to do all the things, okay? I'll show you the pen, the design, I'll show you how it writes on paper, and I'll show you size comparisons and all that. But what I really want to get to is the portion of this video that's going to be this, not that. And I'm going to share with you some alternatives to this pen should the same things bother you with the 141 that bother me. So let's get the party started and take a closer look at this pen. All right, let's do a quick design overview, and this pen is going to look extremely familiar as we look at it because it is a clone of the Montblanc 149. And some of you are already going, why do we need another one of those? And I'm going to tell you, we don't need another one of those, okay? I too wish that we could see both more originality and if they're going to do something that's similar to old classic designs that are out there, pick something more interesting, right? Because truthfully, the Montblanc 149, from a design standpoint, is just a middle-of-the-road, classic cigar-shaped pen, itself only distinguished by its size and a terrific gold nib. That pen is really, more than anything, about build quality, status, and a gold nib. And these pens bring no status, so they've got to deliver on good nibs, and they've got to deliver on build quality and value for money, right? But what if they would start going out there and also delivering on more originality? That would be great. But I'll get off the soapbox. Anywho, let's go over the design. Top of the pen, we get a finial. Most of these clones don't do that, and I think that's because you really want to stay away from getting anywhere near looking like a fake. Nobody's going to mistake this for the snow cap of Montblanc there at the top. So that's okay, but it's a little metal insert matching the gold trim. Personally, I could have done without it, but it's there. Then you come down to the clip, which is altogether too familiar. Would have liked a different clip there myself, kind of like the X159, which is another one of these sort of clones, but it has a very simple and yet not copycat clip, and I appreciate that. Anyway, this functions well, has enough spring to it, seems sturdy. Then you come down and you have a thin trim ring, you have that wide band, and then you do not have third ring. My assumption is they chose not to do that to distinguish themselves, but to my eye, it looks a little bit unfinished. I would like the third trim ring there anyway. Anyway, that trim ring says Majohn and made in China. So we go down, and this does taper, I will say, tapers very nicely. The transition from cap to barrel, very, very good. They nailed that. Credit where credit's due. Then it goes pretty straight, starts to taper here, goes to that last trim ring, and then the piston knob. That piston knob. So this is the first of the Achilles heels that we have in this pen. Yes, it does not have one Achilles heel, but it has, to my eyes, two. Some of you might see more than that, but you run out of legs eventually. And that is that this piston knob, and I can't turn it because it's full of ink, but the piston knob is janky. It just has a herky-jerky function, and that's really weird because I don't see anybody talking about this for the Majohn P140, which is this same pen in a clear acrylic, a different nib, and a brass piston rod. This one has a plastic piston rod. Other than that, they don't seem to be different, but I don't hear that complaint on the 140. I have not seen or read anybody talking about this pen that doesn't bring up the janky piston knob. So it's a problem. Majohn, fix that problem so that you don't kill this pen. There are a couple of things you could do to make this pen great, and I think you should do them. That is one of them. Whatever that is, that's got to be addressed for this pen to have success, I think. And because it does look so good and it feels so good in the hand, I want it to work. So I'm not picking on you because I don't like the pen. I'm picking on you because I really wanted to like the pen. But want to doesn't make it happen. You got to actually fix that piston knob. Oh, before I do that, let's count these, right? So it is 1 and about a quarter. It's not a half. So I'm going to call that 1 1/4. It does, by the way. It does post. It posts securely. And really, I don't even think that it makes the pen that badly balanced. You're going to get some back weightedness, sure, but when the pen is full, the balance in hand That's not that bad. It feels good in hand. Again, wanted to like this pen. There are things I do like about it. The feel in hand is great. I like writing with the pen from that point of view. So it'd be nice to have these little niggles addressed. You come down to the grip, it's what you get in all these pens that are like this. You get a maybe short for the size section. The threads, they're not uncomfortable at all. So if you hold up there, that's really not going to be an issue. There's no step down. You do get an ink window, but in my lighting today, and with this pen as full as it is, you're not really going to see that. But it is there, and it is functional. And then you get that number 8 nib. And I like the look of the number 8 nib. Now, there is something you will notice about it that's a little weird. It has the old Moon Man logo and the Moon Man name instead of Majohn. So I don't know if we're working out of the warehouse or if this is open rebellion, but that's what we've got. The scrolling and the two-tone nature of the nib, I think those look good. I don't have any gripes, no concerns there. That looks cool to me. I'm good with that. This is a fine nib. I would have preferred a medium, but this was what I could get at the time. And we're going to talk about how that writes here in just a little bit. You will notice it is a real fine. There's not a lot of tipping material there. There is a nice large feed, and that is a screw-in nib unit. I'll throw a picture up here of the disassembled pen so that you can see what that all looks like. It is an easy pen to service. If you have the Hongdian wrench, that worked just fine for me to take this pen apart, no issues. And I had no trouble putting it back together. So maintenance is probably fine. And the style and look of the nib is fine. However, people who have the 140, I don't have the P140, but those who have it, it has that sunburst nib, which is a newer nib, and everything I've seen says that nib writes better. And so, you know, I get it. Maybe you had a warehouse full of these that you wanted to use up, but if I were choosing based on the nib, I'd go for the 140, not the 141. Same with that piston. Of course, that's kind of disappointing because I like the blue and the gold. I think it looks great. It's why I chose this over the 140. So to find out there were compromises made between the two pens, that was a pretty big letdown. All right, as we do our size comparison, there is that P141, again, a Montblanc 149 sized pen. And in that same vein, you have the Wingsung 630, and that beautiful burgundy red, a really impressive pen for the money. You also have the Jinhao X159, the difference here being that it is a cartridge converter pen and a fraction of the cost of the Majohn or the Wingsung. And as inexpensive fountain pens go, it's a hoot to own and write with. And then you have the Majohn P136, a thinner pen about the same length and terrific value itself. Now, just to give you something of a different style, similar size, and a large number 8 nib, here is the Hongdian A9, also a cartridge converter pen, terrific writer, and an excellent nib. Here are those pens in the unposted and uncapped length. All right, and it doesn't look like it, but these are all lined up. All of these are large pens, and just to drive that home, let me give you something that's a little bit different from all of them. Here is a Pen BBS 308 that belongs to my wife, and that will give you an idea of the difference in sizes as well. All right, let's write with the pen. I'm going to write with that unposted just because my camera is pretty close today. I'm doing a different setup. And of course is the Majohn P141. Now, I'm not having any trouble with this nib at the moment, but I've had a lot of trouble with it not working well on the downstrokes. It just was too dry. I think I've got that sorted. I've had to do the downstroke and pressure exercise a couple of times, and having to do that twice is more than you should have to do. It happens every now and then. It is a fine, and it writes pretty fine. Let's check this for wetness. That's not too bad for a fine. There is a little bit of flex. It's not springy. It's a stiff nib. But you can, with fairly gentle pressure, get just that little bit of line variation out of there. Ink, as you can probably see there, is Monteverde. And this is their Azure Noir. It's kind of like Oxford blue. I think from that wetness test and from the shading and variation you see, you can kind of see that, right? Very, very similar to Diamine's Oxford blue. I like them both. They're not quite identical. I like something about both of them. See a little bit of there on that C. And I get that now and then. Okay, that's not an isolated incident. It's getting better as I've worked on that nib, just trying to improve wetness. I haven't done any actual work like with micro mesh or flossing the nib. I haven't done any of those things. But there's just every now and then I'll get a skip. It'll usually be on the downstroke. In fact, I'm curious to do our speed test. I've purposefully not done that until today on camera. I'm curious to see how that goes. Oh, well, I missed a comma. Well, you saw that, didn't you? And see, this is what I'm talking about. I don't know, maybe it has a sweet spot or something. But that kind of drives me nuts. Also, let's just go to this dislike for a second, because the nib is the second for me of the Achilles heels. Majohn has better nibs out there. Majohn should have used their better nibs. I also would have liked to have seen more variety of choices. In a big pen like this, I generally like a big nib, so the broad or the stub, at least a good medium, would have been awesome, but that may be out there. I couldn't find it when I went to buy my pen. That may have been a stock issue, I don't know. But this fine, at least, for me, it ain't cutting it. And I'm not anti-fine, because when I go to the alternatives to this pen, some of those are fines. All right, let's do our speed test. Let's just go ahead and jump to that. Okay. Well, there you are. It did okay on the speed test. There is a missing downstroke there. I do not think that was me. This is definitely the pen. It just didn't keep up right there. It's a very thin, crisp line. I will give it that. This is a nice, crisp line. But, you know, with this wetness, it ought to be better at not skipping. So this is a nib issue. This is not a feed issue. This is not a flow issue. And it's something that needs to be addressed in my pen. Maybe mine's the only one that's having that problem, but I don't think so. Also, though, you know, the lack of nib options mean that there's nothing exciting about the nib other than the size, and that excitement will wear off quickly, especially if the pen doesn't keep up with your writing. So that's an issue. If only the nib had worked, I could overlook the piston knob thing. It's not like I fill it every single day. It's not going to slap me in the face all the time. But the two of those issues together, nib and filling mechanism, are some of your biggest interactions with a pen. And so that spoils or makes your experience. And so, yeah, those two issues may seem like I'm being picky, but when you have them both at the same time, it isn't picky. It's an issue. All right, now it's time to go to the this but not that. The first alternative I would have to the 141 would actually be a pen that's been out for a long time, and that is the Wingsung 630. It ticks all the same boxes that the Majohn should have, could have, and really maybe could have even surpassed, but didn't. It has a solid piston mechanism. There's no janky noises, no bad quality feel. This pen really is a very solid value pen, and looks great, feels great, has a wonderful ink window, better than the Majohn actually, and I have no complaints about this pen. It is also a fine, just like the Majohn, but this one has great flow, no issues, reliable as a Volvo from the 80s. I've had no issues with this pen, and yeah, that's really probably the closest to what the Majohn P141 should have been, but actually is. From Jinhao, you had the X159. Now, this is different in some ways. It does have a number 8 nib, has a medium that is excellent. My medium in both of my X159s just rocks. It's really, really a good nib. Nice, wet, smooth, reliable, everything that you want in a medium nib, and just as comfortable a pen to use. I mean, it's basically the same size and everything, but you get this high capacity converter that doesn't equal a piston filler pen, but comes awfully close and allows you to use international cartridges should you so choose. So the X159, which also, by the way, cheaper than some bacon cheeseburgers, is a great option. And then for something a little bit different, what about the Jinhao Dadao? This is the 9019. Like the X159, it has that high capacity converter. It is cartridge compatible, has the same number 8 nib. Medium then is excellent. You get that gold tone if you want it. And instead of looking like just another Montblanc 159 clone, you at least get something that is a clone of something that is much less often seen and looks and writes really well. But if you want something with a number 8 nib, still cartridge converter, not piston filler, but with great material and looks and not a copy of anything, what about Azvine, the C80? This pen, absolutely excellent. It's competitively priced to the other pen and looks absolutely fantastic. And a number, I don't remember if this is an 8 or a 9, but it is a big nib and it looks terrific. It writes like a dream and blows that Majohn out of the water. Did I mention Galaxy Blue? I mean, come on. And I mentioned earlier that Hongdian A9 and different finish. This is an aluminum pen. If you were around in the 60s or 70s and you remember at your mother's or grandmother's house, aluminum drinking cups, this really looks and feels like it was made from recycled 1950s, 60s, 70s aluminum glasses. Anyway, this is a great pen. It has a longer and I think better feeling grip section, still a number 8 nib, and this one has even nicer design on it, and it's fantastic. This is a fine, but this is a springy fine. This has a nice bounce to the nib, better than a pen in this price range should have. Nice weight and balance, cartridge converter, and a unique design and aesthetic, which is something that none of these other pens really truly fully have. And then there is this bonus one, the titanium Azvine J16. This pen is, I mean, it's titanium, but it's also a piston filler, and it is the opposite of janky. This feels more like an 80s Mercedes, and absolutely a fantastic pen, competitively priced, not too bad, great ink window. The only downside I've heard on these pens is that some people have had a separation right here. I've had no issues, no signs of an issue, and I don't think it's that widespread. I think it's a rare thing, but it's real, and you should know about it. But my pen has been fantastic. This is a nearly daily driver for me in some way or another. I use it just about every day, and it's fantastic. So if you don't want plastic fantastic, how about a little titanium? And with that, I'm going to stop going through the collection over here that's to my side. Those are great alternatives. Every one of them beats this pen in some way or another, and there are others that would as well. And it's kind of a shame because really the potential for that pen was there. Majohn actually has that potential and could have done it, but somewhere along the line just decided not to. I don't think that was the best decision. But what do you think? Do you have a different experience with the P141? Or is there one of these pens that I've mentioned that you think absolutely should be at the top of the alternative list? Or is there something I'm not thinking of? Because that's always possible. Share that in the comments below. As always, thank you for liking, sharing, subscribing, and watching most of all. And God bless you. And I hope you have a really great